The second week of the college football playoff official ranking reveal just hit. There's a lot to unpack here. We did have some movement. There's some lack of movement up top we want to talk about. We appreciate you guys joining us as usual. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 200,000. Make sure you check out our previews that we just put out. Georgia, Texas came out today. We have Alabama, Oklahoma came out yesterday. Make sure you check that out. Got a big prediction show with JD Pickell coming out tomorrow.
Pickle Man.
Yeah, the pickler. Don't call him Kelly, but Blaine,
Yes.
David right now is taking care of something. He may have some time to hop on here.
He's too cool for us.
Yeah, it's look, we'll drive this school bus if we have to. But Blaine, just real quick, just like we do every week, I'm going to spit through this top 25 real quick, which is the official college football playoff ranking. Cincinnati 25, South Florida 24, Tennessee 23, Pitt 22, Iowa 21, Louisville 20, Virginia 19, Michigan 18, USC 17. You've got Georgia Tech 16, Miami 15, Vandy 14, 13 is Utah, 12 is BYU. They dropped. Obviously, Oklahoma's 11, Texas is 10, Notre Dame is 9, Oregon is 8, Ole Miss is 7, Texas Tech is 6, Georgia's 5, Bama's 4, A&M stays at 3, Indiana stays at 2, Ohio State stays at 1. Blaine, just anything jump out to you just right off the cuff here?
I mean, South Florida being at 24 is huge for the group of 5.
Humongous.
You go look at the rest of their schedule. Obviously, they have Navy left. I'm pretty sure another team on that schedule that's pretty high up there in the group of 5. So right now, they're slated to be our group of 5-10 team. To be honest, I don't know how Tennessee's still ranked. I really don't know how Tennessee's still ranked with 3 losses. You can almost say the same thing about Iowa, but their losses were a lot better than what Tennessee were. And the biggest thing with me is, who does Texas A&M have to talk to, or who have to beat? Maybe get the Avengers down here for them to move up. I mean, at the end of the day, Indiana struggled with Penn State, who is above average. They still have talent, I know that, but going through a lot of distractions. James Franklin's fired. A&M just went on the road and beat a damn good Missouri team handily. It just blows my mind that they don't move up a single spot. And the next thing I kind of saw on the show is Texas Tech jumping Ole Miss. Ole Miss was on a bye this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? If Texas Tech jumps Ole Miss, why wouldn't they jump Georgia and jump Alabama? To be honest, I mean, there's no reason not. Why? Just tell me why only Ole Miss gets jumped. I mean, look at Ole Miss's wins. I mean, you barely lose to Georgia on the road because your quarterback struggled in the fourth quarter. Look, I think Texas Tech is a damn good team, but if anything, if you're going to have them jump Ole Miss, hell, why wouldn't they jump at least Georgia? Bama's a conversation with all the ranked wins I can see, but some of this just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I want to start off with the A&M point. I think right now the only team that A&M could jump in front of is Indiana. They're not going to move Ohio State, and there's kind of an out for them at the end for Ohio State, because unless Ohio State loses, I think what you will see, because Ohio State beat Texas at the start of the year, Texas plays Texas A&M the last game of the season. So obviously, if Ohio State loses a game, A&M could jump them. But what I'm interested to see is, what will this playoff ranking look like if at the end of the year, Ohio State finishes undefeated with a win over Texas, and which meaning they would beat Michigan, who's ranked obviously at least at this point. And then A&M would also have a win over Texas on the road if they were to beat them at the end of the year. And then I think there's a possibility that A&M could jump all the way to number 1. But even in that case, with a 12-0 Ohio State with a win over Texas and a win over Michigan, and A&M in reality having better overall wins and being undefeated than Ohio State, then I would say jump them. Indiana, I think if you look at the upcoming schedules, there is a chance that both of those teams could win out, and A&M would jump Indiana. I think if A&M beats Texas at the end of the year and finishes 12-0, they will jump Indiana. I think the bigger question is about Ohio State at 1. To your point about Ole Miss getting jumped on the bye week with Texas Tech, I'm 100% with you, dog. I want consistency. That's what I want. That's all I ask. I don't want things to be contradictory in nature. But to be honest with you, and I'll give credit where credit's due, and I'm looking at it, I think they've been pretty consistent in the methodology everywhere else outside of that move, which, to your point, if you're going to jump Ole Miss with Texas Tech, you should jump Georgia and you should jump Bama with that line of thinking. But here's where I disagree, and I forgot who was saying it. I think it may have been Reese Davis was like, well, and also remember, Texas Tech's loss came without their starting quarterback, Baron Morton. So it doesn't hold as much weight as I think he said Georgia's loss to Alabama by 3. Here's my thing. I can understand that if I didn't watch the Hammond kid go shove it down Utah's throat on the road when Texas Tech beat their ass. It's not like this was his opening performance and the lead actor had COVID and some dude had to come out there as an understudy and try and be Brad Pitt. Like, we saw what Hammond did at Texas Tech. They ended up losing that game when he started again. So to me, I would have kept Texas Tech behind Ole Miss, Georgia, and Alabama. But what it does kind of push towards, and if you go back and watch our Monday show where we projected how we think the college football playoff is going to turn out, I had a 12-1 Texas Tech winning the Big 12, jumping Texas A&M, who I had losing the SEC championship game to Alabama, to that 4 spot, and Texas Tech would be the 5. This only kind of pushes me closer to thinking they could actually do that.
Well, yeah, I had A&M at 4, but I had Bama at 5 losing the SEC championship. And I agree with everything you're saying. And the next team, kind of got brought up on the playoff show is Utah. I mean, what are Utah's best wins? I mean, their best wins against Cincinnati, who I think came in ranked 25th this week. I mean, other than that, there's really nobody impressive that jumps off the schedule to me. And then you go look at a Vanderbilt team right now who only has 2 losses. I mean, you beat an LSU team at home. You see what LSU, South Carolina, you lose to Texas on the road by 3. You beat Missouri at home. I mean, you went on the road and lost to Alabama, but that game was a lot closer than what the score was, right? And you have Kentucky and Tennessee left. And if I go look at Utah's schedule right now.
Yeah, well, I'm actually trying to pull it up.
You have Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas. So my thing, if Utah wins out, I don't believe they're in the Big 12 championship, right? And if Vandy wins out, I mean, obviously, they're not in the SEC championship. What reason? Give me a logical reason why you would take Utah. Booger said because of their head coach. And
we can't be doing that.
Bullshit.
Man. Yeah, no, we can't be doing that. Like because of respect for their head coach. Like that's ridiculous to me. I got the Big 12 standings pulled up right here. Texas Tech 6-1 overall in the league. They're 9-1 overall. BYU's 5-1 in the league. They're 8-1 overall. Cincinnati is 6-1 in the league. They're 7-2 overall. Utah right now is 5th in the Big 12. They're 4-2 overall. They're 7-2 overall. They have 2 losses. I'm with you. I'm not understanding it. I don't get it. Look again.
This one was a lot worse. This one was a lot worse than the first one they put out. And obviously, guys, we know this. Things are going to change. Teams are going to lose this. This isn't what it's going to be. But still, there has to be consistency behind what we do. I mean, it really is. And another thing they brought up: if Miami wins out and Notre Dame wins out, I mean, are they going to? They have to put Notre Dame in at this point. There's no reason Miami would jump them. And
there's no way.
Why is Miami?
You can't do that. And this is where I agree with. And I've been saying this for 4 weeks. I'm fine. Like if you lost last week, right? You getting dropped behind a team right now on this point in time that you have beaten with an equal record. Like when you look at Miami and Notre Dame, I'm actually fine with Notre Dame being ahead of Miami right now. What I'm saying is when we get to that final playoff reveal, or when we get to the point where, and again, that'll be before the conference championship games, where Notre Dame will not play another game, and it's looking like Miami will not play in the ACC championship. When that ranking comes out, when we know Notre Dame is 10-2 overall, and we know Miami is 10-2 overall, Miami better be in front of them, because if not, it doesn't matter anymore.
Well,
it's broken. It's broken.
Louisville wins out, if Louisville wins out, why the hell would Louisville not be in front of Miami?
I agree. I give you this. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. If we get to the end and Louisville's at 10-2 and Miami's at 10-2 and Notre Dame is at 10-2, to me, obviously Miami beat Notre Dame, Louisville beat Miami, and Notre Dame and Louisville have not played each other. So it turns into all right, well, let's say Louisville's in. You got Miami and Notre Dame. Miami beat Notre Dame straight up, and you got equal records. You got to put them in. That's the only way that this thing can have legitimacy, because if it doesn't, then you're saying the beginning of the season doesn't matter. You are saying a portion of the season doesn't matter. And then on the same hand, y'all's ass will sit here and say, all right, well, look at their resume, their strength of record, which encompasses what? The whole season. So the beginning of the season matters then, but apparently if it works out the way that it's looking like it's going to work out, which I think they're wrong, it doesn't matter head to head though, which doesn't make sense, and we can't live in that world. But here's where they're consistent. And again, I don't mind Notre Dame being ahead of Miami right now. I don't mind having a team that just lost be ahead of another or be behind another that they just lost to. But at the end, it needs to work itself out. Like Virginia and Louisville, for example. If Virginia finishes 10-2 and Louisville finishes 10-2, you bet your bottom dollar, little orphan Annie, I'm going to put Virginia ahead of Louisville because Virginia not only beat them, they beat them on the road. So it should be a gift to the committee if we get to the point where you're operating with equal parts that just so happen to play each other in a head-to-head, and they're not in the same conference or in a conference at all when it comes to Notre Dame. So that's where I sit with that. But look, you have USC beat Michigan. They're in front of them. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Virginia beat Louisville, like I just mentioned. I'm fine with that. Texas beat Oklahoma. They're one spot ahead of them. BYU beat Utah. They're one spot ahead of them. I'm totally fine with that. I just want to make sure that same energy gets kept up at the end. And if there's a way that they could possibly get Notre Dame and Miami in, which is not going to happen, I think they would rather take that, obviously, but I'm not seeing it. The South Florida thing's interesting to me. The South Florida thing's – so, we've talked about James Madison. Looks like James Madison's probably going to go, 11-1? That's what it looks like, but I didn't see them in the rankings. So, obviously, if South Florida, who's number 2 in the American right now behind Navy, and they're tied. I mean, there's like 4 teams at 4-1. South Florida, Tulane, North Texas, even ECU over there. You look at the rest of South Florida's schedule – you go beat Navy. That should look good when it comes to the playoff rankings. That should help you. At UAB, probably not going to help you. Versus Rice, probably not going to help you. Then you're going to have the American Conference Championship game. So if South Florida, who literally plays Navy next, this is how big of a game this is and how much this matters in the grand scheme of things. If South Florida were to beat Navy, they would take over that number 1 spot. Because when you look at what they've done in the past against other teams that are close to them, they've obviously, they lost to Memphis. But you look at Memphis, if South Florida wins out, they should be fine. And then they don't play Tulane, never played Tulane, so there's no head-to-head there. And Tulane and Navy, I believe Tulane beat Navy if they played. Excuse me, that was Army who they played. I'm wrong there. But Tulane doesn't play Navy, so it's going to be interesting to see. It'll probably end up being Navy or Tulane who in South Florida ends up getting in the American. You could still get North Texas. Hell, you could still get ECU. But obviously, they have told you right now we are going to take South Florida over James Madison because there is no way with the competition that James Madison has left and the competition that South Florida has left that James Madison, if both teams went out, could jump South Florida. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I'm fine with South Florida where they are. I think South Florida is the best group of 5 team, to be honest. I know they lost to Memphis, but we'll see what the rest of their schedule. I think Texas is pretty interesting at 10. You go look at the rest of Texas's schedule. Obviously, you have Georgia on the road, right? And you have A&M to finish the year. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to see what happens around the landscape of college football. And I know a person who had Texas at 9-3 getting into the playoffs.
Yep.
Is there any way, say you lose to Georgia, barely lose, right? You barely, last second field goal, maybe overtime, something like that. Then you go beat an A&M team at the end of the season. Is there any way a 9-3 Texas gets in the college football playoff?
The only way that I'm seeing that is Notre Dame, I think, has to lose. I think Notre Dame has to lose to open up that other spot. Then I would immediately go, if I'm a Texas, I mean, hell, or an Oklahoma fan, if we're being honest. I mean, they're basically in a very similar boat. The only difference is, obviously, Texas has the head-to-head, the win in the Red River Shootout. So you'd have to have Notre Dame lose. And I think you would obviously have to only have one team come out of the ACC and one team come out of the Big 12, which your best shot at that is Texas Tech winning the Big 12 championship. You need BYU to lose to Cincinnati. And really what would happen then is I think you would end up having a Texas Tech Cincinnati Big 12 title game, which if Cincinnati were to win out, they'd be 10-2. If they lost to Texas Tech, I don't think a 10-3 Big 12 title game loser is going to get in. So Notre Dame would have to lose. I think one team out of the Big 12, one team out of the ACC. I think that's the formula for it. And then again, 3 out of the Big 10 would be nice, right? So you want Oregon to go ahead and put USC to bed. You want that to happen, so USC's out, and then you want Ohio State to beat Michigan, which would knock them out. So you'd really end up having Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon probably in. So 3, one out of the ACC and one out of the Big 12 is 5. One group of 5 is 6. That would leave you with 3 in the Big 10.
Yeah.
That's that.
I mean, and another thing I want to point out that has been criticized in the past. I mean, doesn't feel like a lot of SEC bias in this one. Not to me. I mean, if it was to me, I mean, it would start with A&M moving up at least a spot, right? Like, if you could show me somewhere where there's SEC bias in this. Hell, Ole Miss dropped a spot on a bye week for no reason. And to be honest with you, Texas, I think Greg McElroy said, you might have brought this up. Like Texas Tech compared to Georgia, he likes Texas Tech a lot better than what Georgia is. I promise you, neutral site, I bet Georgia's favored.
Oh, I put my money on Georgia. Not that, but I will say this Texas Tech team is different, though. I think this Texas Tech team can hang up front. This isn't the old Patrick Mahomes Texas Tech where they got to beat you 70-63. There's a reason they went out and spent all that money, and a lot of it is in that defensive front 7. I think they could find a way to slow Georgia down. What I'm interested to see would be Texas Tech offensively with Baron Morton. How he's got to make it through the season, to be honest with you, for me. Because unfortunately for him, and I don't think he's soft or anything, he's had a lot of injury problems and stuff like that. And even last game, I thought he hurt his foot last game. I thought he was going to have to come out there for a little bit. And, Hammond, their backup, is done, I believe, for the rest of the season. Again, sneaky teams to watch out for. Pitt, I think, is one of them. Yeah. You look at a team that could really throw a wrench into this whole thing. If Pitt goes and beats Notre Dame, it's going to throw a wrench into this whole thing. And Michigan, at the end of the day, Pitt could end up being the rep out of the ACC. You look at Georgia Tech there. I've got no problem with that. They should win their game
Michigan
at Boston College.
18, Michigan just hanging around.
You're going to obviously you got to beat Ohio State.
Yeah, obviously.
A 9-3 Big Ten team's not getting in. No. I think the only shot at a 9-3 team getting in is Texas and Oklahoma. I think that's the only shot.
So if Michigan would have beat Ohio State, right, they would make it to the
Big Ten championship game. Yeah.
And if they were to lose that, they'd be 10-3?
They'd be 10-3. Michigan would get in.
They would have to.
If Michigan beat Ohio State and finished 10-2, then they would end up playing Indiana they may move Indiana up to number 1 if that was the case, or maybe that's when A&M jumps them. I don't know, but you would end up having Michigan, I believe, because Michigan didn't play Oregon, playing Indiana. Oregon obviously lost to Indiana. There'd have to be a tiebreaker situation between Oregon and Michigan. That's what you'd have to go to. But in that case, you'd have 4 Big Ten teams in.
So it's just Ole Miss. I feel like Ole Miss is almost a guarantee to make it into the playoff.
I pencil. You got it. To me, you go ahead and pencil in Ohio State. You go ahead and pencil in Indiana. You go ahead and pencil in A&M. With Alabama, I'm just not seeing, especially if they take care of business this weekend, you're going to kill Eastern Illinois, and even if you lose to Auburn, that's still only one SEC loss, and you're going to be 10-2, so you're going to be in either way. Georgia, you still got Texas, you still got Georgia Tech, so I would lightly pencil that one in. Texas Tech,
they're in.
Got to see the rest of their schedule. I can't remember it off the top.
I don't even have to see the rest of their schedule. They're in.
And then I would say Ole Miss is definitely, you feel good about it. Hell, I mean, at this point, can we pencil Oregon in? Like, is Oregon in? Like, if we look at the rest,
they still have what? They have Washington on the road.
That's true. Okay. They've got USC. They've got Minnesota at home. That's a win. They've got USC at home and then at Washington. So here's the thing: Oregon's got to go 2-1. They got to go 2-1 because 10-2 Oregon, a 10-2 Big Ten team, and SEC team, most likely 99.9% chance gets in. But any other stuff here, Blaine, that you're seeing?
Not really. I pretty much think we covered it all. I mean, the 2 big things that stand out to me is, I don't know what A&M has to do to move up in the rankings. I don't even know if it's possible. If you're
at this point, look, you control your own destiny.
Sure.
You win this. You handle business the rest of the way out. You go on the road and beat Texas. You're sitting there at 12-0. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I look at this college football playoff bracket, like, and the way that it sets up, and this is what we talked about last year. I'm pulling it up right now because there's some things that I'm looking at. I'm like, man, like at the end of the day, man, like I know the number 1 seed, like that 8-9 matchup, like that one's going to be a fight between two good teams. That would you rather be? Would you
No.
rather be the 1 seed, knowing you're playing either the 8 and the 9, or would you rather be the 4 or the 3, knowing you get a bye like the 1, and there's a possibility you could play the 12 or 11?
I'll never say no to number 1. Ever.
You'll never say, even because like Oregon last year, that was like, damn, like you got Ohio
number 1
State
team for a reason. Be the number 1 team.
Like, I'm just saying though, like if you could pick, like it's a gamble, obviously, but like I don't think it's crazy if somebody's like, look, you give me the 3 seed, so I'm on the other side of the 1. I wouldn't play the 1 to the national title game, and I get to play the winner of the 6 and the 11. Like the 11 could be BYU.
I get what you're saying; it makes sense, but philosophically, eat shit. No, we're gonna be number 1.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you're locked into Crain & Company. Go check out all our previews. David Cohn will be back tomorrow. We got our college football predictions show for this week. Some bangers on deck with our buddy JD Piquel from On3. So make sure you're locked into Crain & Company. Love us or hate us. We just appreciate you watching.